Have you ever wondered what happens if we take a siege onager and tell it to shoot off the edge of the map? Well, let's do an attack round and find out. Oh, now look at that. The game moved the cursor by itself to be on the map, so it doesn't actually let us shoot off the edge. Now we're gonna need a trick to get around that. Now if you recall one of my earlier videos, the mangonel line has two sets of projectiles. There is the primary projectile that heads towards the base of the target, and the secondary projectiles that head towards the top of the target, where the target can have a different height that we can modify in the unit attributes. So back at the edge, we'll use the height of the straggler tree to shoot off of the map. And look at that! It's a solid vertical wall where the X velocity of the projectiles is canceled out and they just roll down to the ground. Now let's try something a bit more interesting. I've modified this tree to have a taller height. So if we come in at an angle, we can see how the projectiles will hit the edge of the map and then roll down to the ground. Again, just their velocity into the edge of the map seems to be canceled and they keep on rolling forward. So now let's answer a few more questions about this. First, is it only siege onagers, or does this work for other projectiles too? Actually, yes. All units behave this way, with their projectiles, if they miss and hit the edge of the map, striking directly against the vertical wall and then falling down to the ground. Next, we know there's a wall, but is there a ceiling? To find out, I took a bombard tower, gave it range to shoot across an entire ludicrous map. And fun fact, if you're outside the line of sight but still see something, you can shoot it as long as you have the range. And let's just watch these cannonballs and see if they ever actually hit the ceiling or if they're able to follow their entire parabola and hit the target. So here we are, as zoomed out as I can be to watch all these cannonballs fly across the map, and it looks like they are indeed going to pass the top of their arc and continue on their path down towards that halb. And here they come at the halb. And that was anticlimactic. He did not die. One hit him and he dodged the rest, and now they're all going to hit the edge of the map. Anyway, I think we safely can conclude there is no ceiling, or at least no reasonable ceiling that would ever affect the game like the walls do. Next, can we actually damage a unit by rolling along the edge of the map? Let's just try that out here. The secondary projectiles go and don't do any damage to the halb. Now that's a problem with secondary projectiles. They only damage the object that the initial shot is targeting. So instead we'll need to use primary projectiles like this bombard tower here. Now I'm going to make it shoot really fast, give it 0 accuracy and a large attack dispersion so the shots go all over and most of them will go off. And here we are, we can see the cannonballs. If they hit the halbs directly, the halbs will die. But if they bounce off the edge, you can see they don't actually hit the halbs on the ricochet, even if they're right next to them. And the problem is, no matter how close I pathfind the halb to the edge of the map, I can't actually get it close enough for the cannonballs to hit it. But that's only if I use one halb. If instead I use the pathfinding of a group, I can get part of the group to get actually closer to the wall, close enough to the point where the cannonballs, if I find the right spot...
A few moments later.
Oh, there we are. Got him. Yes, there, got it. Yeah, it takes a while to set up, but the distance between the halb and the edge of the map determines just a tiny little gap where the cannonball slides down and doesn't hit the halb. We need the group pathfinding to get it just close enough so that it actually gets hit. So now I started thinking to myself, is this really the best way to handle out of bounds projectiles? Is a vertical wall really the best solution? So I started looking at other games, and I opened up Roller Coaster Tycoon just to run a little pacifist experiment by launching some guests one way onto the grass and the other way into the middle of nowhere. And from what I can tell, it looks like this game has a different approach, where instead of a vertical wall, the game has a horizontal plane where the roller coaster cars fly through the air and then crash at where the ground would have been had it continued to be extended. So at the end of the day, is this trick actually useful? Well, you might see it when cutting trade on Amazon Tunnel, but ultimately, I don't think so. The difficulty of getting a primary projectile to miss, roll along the edge of the map, and then hit something is just way too hard to actually matter. But one day, if it ever does, I'll be there, and I'll be ready for it. So thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.